We are certainly pleased to have you participating in this 5th Council of Ministers of Agriculture and Fisheries meeting here in our wonderful island. I would like to urge you, the visitors, and encourage you to find some time to explore and experience the spirit, cuisine, culture, and warm hospitality of St. Lucia during your visit with us. This meeting of the Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries in St. Lucia will be focusing on fisheries. And in this regard, the fisheries sector is an important sector for Caribbean states. It provides employment, enhances food security, and export earnings, and employs over 180,000 persons in the Caribbean, directly and indirectly, mostly from rural villages where there are limited prospects for other income earning opportunities. The sector earns over 150 million United States dollars per year from exports and saves the region 3 times in foreign exchange, since the volume of production is 4 times the volume of export. The fisheries sector is a major source of protein in rural communities, which have a high percentage of poverty than the national average. Fishing in the region complements tourism by providing alternative livelihood options, such as tour guiding and fishing tournaments. Apart from the primary production sector, fisheries and aquaculture provide numerous jobs and ancillary activities, such as processing, packaging, marketing, distribution, and the manufacturing of fish processing equipment, net and gear making, wood construction, maintenance, research, and administration. The importance of fisheries is also emphasized in the report of the high-level panel of eminent persons on the Post-2015 Development Agenda 2013. The illustrative goal in the report is to ensure food security and good nutrition, and it calls for adapting sustainable agriculture, ocean, and freshwater fishery practices, and rebuild designated fish stocks to sustainable levels. Similarly, the resolutions adopted by Rio Plus 20, the United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development, stresses the crucial role of healthy marine ecosystems, sustainable fisheries, and sustainable agriculture for food security. Since Rio Plus 20, the blue economy has gained momentum across the globe, and the Caribbean region seems poised to embark on the pathway towards sustainable blue growth. More and more coastal island nations are looking towards the ocean as the next frontier for economic development. By harnessing the marine and coastal resources, Caribbean countries can not only boost growth, but also tackle some of the key challenges faced by these economies, including high unemployment, low growth, food security, poverty, as well as resilience to climate change. A prerequisite for sustainable fishing sector in developing countries is creating favorable conditions to improve the legal, regulatory, and administrative environment. Developing institutional capacity and creating an environment supportive of responsible investment are all means by which countries can lay the foundation for the development of the fisheries sector. One way to improve institutional capacity is by participating in regional management agreements, sharing of information which can assist with combating IUU fishing, and focusing attention on broader management issues rather than short-term national interests. Climate change, sea level rise, ocean acidification, and disaster risk management are major challenges facing the fisheries sector and the wider economies of our countries. These issues continue to be high priorities for our policymakers and shareholders because we need to improve capacity, information base and policy, and institutional arrangements to respond to these threats and protect our future. Mr. Milton Horton, who is here with us today, the Executive Director of CRFM, noted that, and I quote, "working together to improve the health of the marine environment and protection of the vulnerable marine species while improving sanitary and phytosanitary systems and the quality of fish and seafood will produce tangible social and economic benefits for our fishers and fishing communities," end of quote. It is time, therefore, for stakeholders in the fisheries and environment sectors to start working in a more cooperative and constructive manner to address common challenges. The discussions of the recommendations provided by the technical staff on the issues and challenges facing the fisheries sector will be useful in shaping future policies geared towards protecting and developing the sector. In closing, I wish to say that great things happen when there is a gathering of great minds. It is with this great anticipation that we welcome all of you to this forum, and I look forward to the discussions and deliberations by the ministers and the technical staff for the remainder of today. I wish you the best from St. Lucia and our warm hospitality. Thank you, everybody.
This meeting takes place in a very different context from our last meeting. It is post-Maria time. And now the lessons of that season of destruction must be factored into all that we do going forward. As destructive and painful as the past few months have been, the lessons of that experience, if learnt and applied, can end up signaling a positive chapter in the development history of the OECS. What are the lessons that can put us in that positive space? The overarching lesson is the opportunity to become climate resilient. This is not just about building more robust physical infrastructure. It is a multidimensional undertaking that involves closing the full circle of initiatives that ensures that whatever nature throws at us, we are able to withstand. So it is not just about building back better, but building in the right spaces, land use policies and spatial planning that protects our watersheds, that prohibits the construction, especially of domestic dwellings in floodplains and areas prone to disaster. Climate resilience also applies to agriculture and fisheries. This disaster has highlighted the vital importance of agriculture to our survival and has opened the doors of possibility to a different, more sustainable, more strategic approach to the development of that sector. That the government of Antigua and Barbuda has the challenge to this day of feeding 1,800 of its citizens from the island of Barbuda should be a sober reminder of the imperative of food security in the OECS. The total destruction of the agricultural sector of Dominica, formerly a breadbasket of the OECS, should cause us to carefully reflect on what we need to do to create a more resilient agricultural sector that is not simply geared to export, but is also meeting the health and nutritional requirements of a self-reliant people. Some of the initiatives that we have previously embarked upon, such as the Agri-Shipping Initiative, prove their value by enabling us to respond in a more timely manner and able manner to what could have been an unprecedented hunger challenge in the post-hurricane period. Some of the initiatives that we have started since the disaster, such as the Seedlings Initiative currently underway in Dominica, point us in new directions for the future. To date, in excess of 130,000 seedlings of high nutritious value and fast yield crops, such as kale, cabbage, lettuce, cucumber, string beans, etc., have been incubated and distributed to farmers. Many of these farmers have been provided also with an organic fertilizer made from sargassum seaweed donated by Algas Organics, the first indigenous Caribbean agriculture biotech company, led incidentally by one of the OECS 30 under 30 youth entrepreneurs, Johanan Dujon. The Seedling Initiative will be expanded with the support of FAO, AICA, and CADI to Anguilla and to the BVI to help jumpstart the move to food sufficiency. I would like to take this opportunity to publicly express our deepest appreciation to the multilateral agencies and diplomatic partners who extended their helping hand so generously to the hurricane-impacted member states, particularly on the food and agriculture front. Special thanks to the governments of Venezuela, Cuba, Morocco, France, Mexico, Belgium, and to the multilateral agencies, the UN, FAO, CADI, AICA, and the European Community. This meeting, therefore, is of great importance in reviewing where we are at and in charting the way forward for new approaches to the development of agriculture and fisheries in the OECS. And I want to also acknowledge the support without which this meeting would not have been possible of the Commonwealth Marine Economies Program and the Caribbean and North Brazil Shelf Large Marine Ecosystems, the CLMA Plus project. We have had the consistent support of FAO, CADI, and AICA in this period, and the stage is now set for us to consolidate these partnerships and hold hands stronger with vital regional organizations such as the Caribbean Regional Fisheries Mechanism and other initiatives such as the UK Commonwealth Marine Economies Programme. It is important that we ensure that all initiatives in the sector are converged around the objectives of our economic union, so that we are not executing programs such as the CLME Plus project and our major Caribbean regional oceanscape project with the World Bank as isolated initiatives, but as a multilateral assault on the challenges that we face. As we go forward, Honorable Ministers, we need to both tighten and widen the circles of active collaboration in the agricultural sector, starting with yourselves and extending downwards to establish stronger collaborative relationships among professionals at the ministry level. And we also need to extend sideways to stakeholders in the farming and commercial communities. With a food import bill in excess of $750 million US, and with the opportunity to reconstruct the OECS agricultural sector in a climate-smart and organic model of production linked to value-added agro-processing, the future is bright. The future, however, only belongs to those who build it.
Today, we gather under the banner of the OECS, an organization dedicated to economic harmonization and integration, protection of human and legal rights, and the encouragement of good governance among independent and non-independent countries in the Eastern Caribbean. As we deliberate and come to agreement, and perhaps in some cases consensus, at this 5th meeting of the OECS Council of OECS Ministers of Agriculture, let us be guided and reminded that unity without truth, reality, and sincerity is no better than conspiracy. Colleagues, so powerful is the light of unity that it can illuminate the whole earth. Unity is strength, as we are constantly reminded by the old adage, when there is teamwork and collaboration, wonderful things can be achieved. On behalf of the government of St. Lucia, the OECS Commission, and the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Physical Planning, Natural Resources, and Cooperatives, I would like to welcome all of you to the 5th meeting of the OECS Council of Ministers of Agriculture, held in the beautiful island of St. Lucia, the Helen of the West, as we seek to achieve wonderful things together. Mindful that we are here to discuss critical and vital issues as it relates to sustainable oceans and fisheries. I trust that the splendid ambience and magnificence of our fair Helen will infect you with its contagious charms to compel you to enjoy the beauty and warm hospitality that our island has to offer. Colleagues and friends, for me, this occasion to address you is not just a mere formality. It is a special opportunity to participate in this critical forum, as I am from a constituency where tourism, agriculture, and fisheries form the bedrock of the economic livelihood of the people I represent in the Parliament of St. Lucia. So it is from first-hand experience that I speak of the pivotal role that fisheries play in the economies of OECS member states, providing full-time, part-time, and seasonal employment, contributing significantly to the domestic food security and national GDP. The FAO informs us that for billions around the world, especially the world's poorest, healthy oceans means jobs, food, and protection. FAO estimates that fisheries and aquaculture assure the livelihoods of 10 to 12% of the world's population, with more than 90% of those employed by capture fisheries working in small-scale operations in developing countries. As you may be well aware, colleagues, coastal areas within 100 kilometers of the ocean account for an estimated 61% of the world's total gross national product and are of particular importance for developing countries. It is estimated that in 54 coastal and island countries, up to 2/3 of total national territory is ocean. Overall, healthy oceans, coast, and freshwater ecosystems are crucial for economic growth and food production. In that context, fish remain a very important source of food and support livelihoods, particularly within some of the poorest and most vulnerable people in our countries. However, we must acknowledge that the fisheries sector is grossly underestimated in our national accounting, and as such, it is critical that we ensure that fisheries is tabled as a high priority on our development agendas. Consequently, sustainable utilization of fisheries resources within the context of an ecosystem approach to fisheries management continues to be a major priority, particularly to small island developing states such as ourselves. As such, the global issue of IWU, overfishing and overcapacity, threatens small island states such as ours with alarming rapidity and fierce urgency. While the small-scale, artisanal and subsistence nature of fishing in the OECS certainly do not contribute to overfishing and overcapacity, our states may be amongst the most impacted. To date, initiatives by the global community to achieve sustainable fisheries have not, by and large, successfully delivered the desired results. But there are, in my opinion, a growing number of success stories that we have initiated and continue to learn from going forward. It is therefore important to state that the long-term sustainable benefits depend on the extent to which states and other stakeholders can implement the governance and management reforms necessary to effectively manage fisheries, conserve and protect the marine environment and its biodiversity. This, colleagues, is undoubtedly an important challenge in fisheries, for it is the pillar on which institutional sustainability to support the sector can be achieved. Further, issues such as increased vulnerability to the fisheries sector due to the risk of climate change, declining fish stocks, and other external factors globally continue to challenge the stability and sustainability of the fishing industry in the OECS and Caribbean region. Consequently, adaptation measures to increase resilience, such as strengthening insurance schemes for the fisheries sector, needs to be in the forefront of our discussions. Of critical concern is that most of the traditional, commercially important species are either fully developed or overexploited. This has the potential to limit the potential for expansion of our fisheries. For this reason, our states must strive to secure an international and regional presence to ensure fair and equitable access to these resources, and greater consideration of the vulnerabilities of our small economies must be tabled. As such, strengthening cooperation remains a fundamental requirement for effective management of the fisheries. Within the region, we can attest to the close collaboration between member states, stakeholders, and partners. The outputs of various programs and projects within the region is evidence of close collaborations and greater investments towards strengthening harmonized approaches to fisheries management and various binding instruments, including the CARICOM Common Fisheries Policy. In recent years, we have collectively adopted a number of policy and strategic instruments, namely the OECS Fisheries Management and Development Strategy and Implementation Plan, and other fisheries-related provisions outlined in the CLME Plus Strategic Action Program, which are based on the precautionary and ecosystem approaches and transparent and participatory processes. Member states, however, need to ensure the efficacy of these frameworks through the strengthening of national fisheries legislation and related policies. We need to work more diligently on setting policy and legislation which will position the OECS to capitalize on blue growth development initiatives such as fisheries and aquaculture, while support the role of national and regional fishery bodies and agencies in conservation strategies towards the socio-economic growth of the OECS Economic Union. In closing, I would like for us to recognize that the challenges are great. The variables that must be taken into consideration in making fisheries sustainable are numerous. However, integrated management plans based on multidisciplinary and multi-stakeholder engagement using the ecosystem and precautionary approaches and science is required. The support of stakeholders, local communities, private sector, and academic institutions is also critical. Let us therefore endeavor to continue making strides towards this goal of sustainability to work collectively in developing the sector. I anticipate that there will be broad discussion on several of the issues mentioned and look forward to the various presentations to be made and the discussions on recommendations or plan of actions to be implemented emanating out of these presentations. Once again, I wish to welcome all the ministers here for the conference, the technical officers from the various countries, and all of the invited guests here today. History teaches us that unity is strength and cautions us to submerge and overcome our differences in the quest for common goals, to strive with all our combined strength for the path to true OECS, brotherhood, and unity. I thank you.